Okay, folks, welcome back. All right, so let's continue our build here on the quad tractor. Cute little thing. Looks like a little pig. All right, it's wanting me to put a crew inside. I don't know that I'm even going to put a crew in it. I don't know that we're going to do that. Hey, Mr. Ben, did you see my comment I sent you? I woke up this morning and I saw, like, I swear, like, your page, and this doesn't just happen to you, and it might be that you got ready to post something and then wanted to change it and took it down or whatever, but it has memory. I've seen that happen lots of times. People, I'll be like, they'll be like some post like, oh, this looks interesting, and then I go and like, if I don't see immediately who it was, that post is gone. I'm sure that was a compressor thing you saw. I haven't bought one yet. It might just be Facebook being Facebook. Might be Facebook being Facebook, but I see that all the time. Like I go to Facebook page and it'll show me like, I don't know. It's usually something really attractive. Just saying. Like, where is that? Where'd that go? And if I don't see whose page it was, subliminal message. You haven't bought one yet? Okay. Your doppelganger? Come on, it's what I tell people. I don't want to be me. Why would somebody else want to be me? Every time I see doppelganger, you know what I think of? Those guys at the front of those pike blocks with the double-handed sword. No, that's a doppelsnolder or whatever it's called. Okay, just so you said Facebook being Facebook. This is Plastic Soldier Company being Plastic Soldier Company. Not a gripe, but Plastic Soldier Company does this all of the time, and they are my favorite manufacturer. But they do this annoying thing. They give you extra options, and they don't tell you that extra options are in there. For instance, if you look at this instruction, you put the cab in there. You close the cab up, and you got your choice of, you have a choice of dudes on a date. A couple different dudes, whether they've got long sleeves or they got short sleeves, looks like. And then you assemble the top plate, right? And close it up. And then add a spare wheel, potentially, right? There's two top plates. And they don't tell you got two top plates. And then they got like this canvas cover. So I suspect this canvas cover goes with this. They don't tell you none of this stuff. And this isn't bad. Usually there's a lot more things to it than that. But that's Plastic Soldier Company being Plastic Soldier Company. You should see the poor print instructions they sent me. The Soviet tanks, absolutely unreadable. Had visions of your unboxing like that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they're... Again, it's not a gripe against them, but sometimes there's certain corners you shouldn't cut. I mean, look, you went through the trouble of making this awesome piece, right? Like, put it in the picture. Like, do a line drawing. I don't know. But I don't know if I'm going to put dudes on a date in here. And if I am, um, you know, I'm not certain. But this is a cute little piggy vehicle. So what I'm going to do is, I don't want to make that decision. You know, I didn't realize I was going to build this and have to make these important decisions. So I'm going to cut them both off, see how they fit, make a decision later. The convertible. It's kind of the convertible. I mean, the tarp looks really good. They actually, Plastic Soldier Company, anything they give you that's tarp-like the Martyrs have a bunch of them, they look really good. Like, the texture is done really well. And it's not a gripe against them. I like their stuff. There is no sprue diagram in the box. It not only gives color-coded diagrams for each option. It does. You're absolutely correct. But there's no color-coded thing on the fact of the roof. Or if one's a late roof or one's an early roof. Like, if you had not told me, Jeffrey, I wouldn't know which 25 pounder to build. I mean, I like it with a muzzle brake, but I'm going to do the early one. And somebody told me in one of the comments that I could also build the Pheasant if I could source out some wheels. Well, that's a problem because now I'm going to want to build the wheels. So I'm going to probably cast a mold of the wheels because it's stupid to have all these extra plastic pieces and not use it. Even though I don't really need a Pheasant. But and I'm not a complainer of them. If somebody has to say, hey, what's your favorite manufacturer? Plastic Soldier Company's towards the top. Now I don't like the way their Panzer III turrets look. They're off. The angle, they're not flat enough. They're too angular. The roof. But that's it. I don't care that, it's slightly bigger. I don't give a fuck about that. That's just, you need a different hobby. There was a comparison of different there's a comparison of different wow. Salud. Crusader models on I think it's 172nd on the way. And there's some nerdy fucking people on there. And I'm saying, like the people that, this is off, the side dimensions are actually 174th, but the length dimensions are 176th, and it's like, wow, I mean, I get that, but you should be painting the vehicle with that kind of precision, and they don't. Like they're worried about this thing being a millimeter too long or this, and then they go, it's time to spray this perfectly kit bashed thing so it's exactly the same dimensions as the original. Done. Like, what's wrong with you? Good morning, Marcus. Okay, so this is one of the piggy roofs. That's what I'm going to call this thing. I'm going to call this piggy. It looks like a pig. I like pigs. I don't have any, but And then this is the other roof, I guess. You can see through the bottom, and then I guess this is enclosed somehow. It's got to go here. I don't know. Oh yeah. Here's the, oh wait a second. It's with it open. Does this fit on here? Closed? No. Yeah, it has these two sides, and the two sides don't match up with this. I mean, I'm an experienced modeler, man. Some kid gets there. What's the age on this? Well, this is definitely easier than. There's no 8-year-old putting this thing together. If he is, it's getting launched across the room. Yeah, there's these two little nibs up here, and they don't match any nib here. We'll have to look for photographic evidence. I'm not in a hurry to build this thing. I'm just, I want to build it right. I want to make all the right decisions. So I got a wall of hair up my ass. Oh, Marcus, Chad, the stuff he has access to, I noticed, and I was unpleasantly surprised that in any of those things he has access to, there is no A15 Crusaders. Nobody makes an A15 Crusader. So probably going to have to get mine from S Model, which sucks because you can't make one with an open turret. And that's a huge hatch. That is a very huge hatch. You're going to see part of the interior if it doesn't have an interior is blocked off or something like that. So I'm like, all right, how much do these S models go for? I'm gonna sit this thing off to the side till I could do some research on the 25 pounder. I don't want to, and now I've got to cast some wheels too, because I don't want to glue these things on and then miss my opportunity to cast these wheels. Although I don't really need a pheasant. Wait a second. Something's wrong here. Something is not right. Oh, never mind. I see it. Yeah, the wheels for the trailer. Well, I could just... Man, the way to do it is to use these wheels for the pheasant and then use a spare two wheels, make enough spare two wheels for the trailer that are going to get hidden in there and you're not going to see. Let's punt on this. Let's paint the things we already have done. So, some interesting things happened yesterday on my Crusader project that I'm working on. Trying to peel back the levels of the onion. The arm of service markings. I notice I'm not sure I love the honey, at least from the picture. I might try it though. Well, you got to fix it. If you look at the instructions of the honey, it shows you to put the on Plastic Soldier Company. You got to use the. It tells you to put the sponson machine guns, and the honey didn't have them. So remember, you're born with this. Use this. So, but my honeys will come from PSC probably, because I don't think Chad makes them either. Or Chad, he may have access to some other, but I'm like, you know, I don't mind putting things together. Okay, so peeling back the levels of the onion, layers of the onion. The arm of service markings of the 7th Armored Division and Operation Crusader are unique. They don't really follow a standard. So I'm like, well, let me go to District Miniatures, as an example, and see how many of these sets I have to buy. Because I like doing that. I'm like, okay, well, whenever I have to order these, how much am I looking at ordering? And they don't make the markings that go with the 7th Armored Division. So I'm going to have to hand paint. I'm going to have to hand paint the arms of service markings, which is a blessing because I don't have to order them, and I can have them not like, okay, I order them, when are they going to get here, you know? So I'm probably going to hand paint them all. But I came across an article. You know, 'cause I was telling you, or I was mentioning that there's some units that have a lot of examples that I found for paint schemes of their vehicles in Operation Crusader. The unit with the honeys, it's the 8th Royal Irish King's Irish Guards, or whatever it's called. Okay? Lots of examples, 6, 7, 8 vehicles, different vehicles of that. And I'm not going to name any of those vehicles that, but I'm going to use the counter paint scheme, you know, as kind of a basis of how the other ones are, right? I'm going to make all of them will have my own names. They'll be done in the same spirit, but, you know, they'll be undocumented names. So yes, all my names will be wrong, but they'll all be done in the same spirit of it, right? Well, just like the names of my characters are all wrong. Those aren't necessarily people that have fought in the desert together. You know? So, that's my own spin on it. And one of the units I came across that I was wondering, why is there no info on this, is the 6th Royal Tank Regiment in the 7th Armored Brigade, which is probably the one that I'm going to do some of the vehicles out of. Is the 7th Armored Brigade, because the 7th Armored Brigade has A10s, A13s, and A15s. So I'm like, why isn't there anything on it? And I came across this article, this whole page that this individual has. And I think there's a disclaimer on there that I can't share it with anybody, any pictures. So, if I do some kind of copyright thing, it's not, my heart's in the right place. So if you tell me you don't want me to do this, I won't show this page. But there's a page called like the Crusader Project or something like that, and I saw it. But there's this whole narrative of the 6th Royal Tank Regiment, i.e. battalion, that is completely equipped with A15s in the 7th Armored Brigade, and basically like a play-by-play of them driving on the airfield at City Rizet. And I thought it was like fascinating. So I saved that. I'm like, we're gonna have to, go in there and get the juicy things. So, it's just like I said, it's just trying to piece things together to get kind of a clear picture, because the information I'm looking for, I haven't found it on one particular page. It's getting a bunch of different things together. So we know that the entire 22nd Armored Brigade, the one that was on loan, was all equipped completely with Crusaders, A15s. All of them. I don't know if there was any close support Crusaders. Doesn't matter. Okay, I don't have that information yet, but it's all A15s. I don't know whether they're Mark 1s or Mark 2s. I don't know. Maybe a mix of both. Maybe all 2s. Not sure. We know that the 4th Armored Brigade is all honeys. All 3 regiments of them. All completely honeys. So that leaves the other one, which is the 7th Armored, the other Jerboa unit, which happens to be the Junior Brigade. I'm surprised. So it's got the green numbers, the green Army of Service markings. Has A10s, A13s, and A15s. One of the 3 regiments, i.e. battalions, in there, in that 7th Armored Brigade, is all equipped with A15s according to this article. So you know, if I'm going to build an A13, I don't want to put the markings of the 6th Royal Tank Regiment, right? The arms of service of that one. So it's just kind of interesting, just kind of trying to find out, you know, peel back the layers of that. So I think I'm just going to paint the arms of service markings. I did on this one, which I'm going to repaint. And I think it turned out pretty well. I don't mind hand painting stuff like that. So that's the kind of stuff I like to do. The kind of research I like to do. I don't like the research that, is this tank 2 millimeters too big? You know, you can't be building 72nd scale stuff and 76 and using them together and have that attitude. Like, it's not going to work, you know. Saw an unboxing video that Airfix have updated their advice to from 8 years with adult supervision. If you look under Wargame 3D Collection USA, there's a M3A1 Honey. Well, that's in the wrong place. That should be in the British section, because the US never used it as a Honey with that octagonal turret, or hexagonal, or, you know, the hatch that's that way. Oh, I'm going to make a mess, aren't I? I'll make a mess all over myself. And it is poo colored too. So then I'm like, all right, S model maybe. Okay. So I'm like, you know, I've never ordered from AliExpress. I'm not going to order from Temu or Temu, or I think they want you to call it Temu, so I'm calling it Temu. And I'm not going to, because they, you know, I'm just concerned about credit card information, right? But AliExpress, I've heard that it's relatively reliable, especially if you use something that they can't get to all your money. But regardless, you don't save that much money. You pay way too much in shipping. Like, the price of the item is awesome, and then the shipping is like $22 on. It's like shipping on each one. They don't combine shipping. I'm like, that's not a good value. Because I saw something where they were running some sales for Black Friday, and I'm like, it just doesn't add up. It's the same prices as I can get off of eBay, and then I've got the protection of eBay. You know, so I said it's a fun exercise. I'll look at all those things, like, what would it cost to do this? What would it cost to do that? I'm like, okay, well, now I know when it's time to order it. I don't get itchy trigger finger. The only reason I got these 25 pounders is I found out that, like, they're not available anywhere. Like, nobody has them. And I hope Plastic Soldier Company doesn't do one of these things like, what's the name of the folks that just split up and apparently went out of business? Pegasus. Not Pegasus. Well, they don't make those Pegasus KV1, KV2 sets, but I'm talking about the ones from, who is it? Armorfast. Armorfast. They don't, you know, Armorfast, bam, stop making them. You know, like, the hell. They also made a Crusader. Although Armorfast stuff is definitely lacking in the detail department. Like, I wouldn't want to use an Armorfast Crusader with like an S model Crusader, because the armor fast ones just are going to be missing a lot of details on them. But I just enjoy doing stuff like that. I go on, I window shop, I guess, shopping in windows, and then I just don't pull the trigger on it. I did the same thing with 15 millimeter miniatures. That's how I became so familiar with 15 millimeter ancients and medieval stuff, because I would do that all of the time. And then one thing I've been wanting to do is do an intro video for my channel, like using different snippets. And I started doing that a little bit the other night, and I realized how long it takes just to get one. That's going to be a good project for me to do on the plane to Europe. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my headphones on. That could be a 7-hour project, easy. So I'm reading this book that's called An Army at Dawn. It's a part one of three, and it's all U.S. based. I talked about it a little bit the other day. I don't know if everybody was on when I talked about it, but it was suggested to me by somebody who's an amateur historian, so to speak. Um, and so far so good. I was really captivated by the prologue. Um, Prologue? Well, this whatever it's called. I don't know if that's what it's called, but the part before the book gets started, like, it was really well written. Like, I'm like, usually that's like, yeah, 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 yeah. And it was actually pretty good. And it's starting on something I'm not particularly interested in, which is Operation Torch. And there's all kinds of stuff in there that I've never even heard of. Stuff I've never even heard of about landings against French, Iran, and these little landing ships get blown to bits, and just stuff I've never even heard of. And I'm interested if we get back into the Tunisia area, if I find the kind of details that I'm looking for. I hope so. But it's a three-part series. It's all in Europe. This one just is 42 and 43. The other one is like, this is like Tunisia, then there's an Italy one, and then there's the Northwest Europe one. And I think it's all through American eyes kind of thing. So, but not reading very much of it each day because I got a short commute, and I'm only reading that I'm only listening to it on the commute. And then when I'm at lunch, I've been listening to Tick's thing, watching his Crusader video, which is now three-quarters of the way through it. I swear I'm listening to a lot of this for the first time, except the part where Rommel gets in his in the Mammut and runs out of gas. I remember that part. That's a good scenario. I got a Rommel figure. It doesn't really look like him, but I think the Matchbox guy looks more like him. I don't have him. They're selling that Matchbox set of the Africa Corps. Not that I was looking at buying it. I just happened to be surfing around for like $30. Like, wow, that's a bit of a markup. Go for it. Welcome, man. Welcome back. Top of the morning to you. This is the day before Thanksgiving. Man, I'm going through a lot of this stuff. And I don't want to use craft paint because I want it to match exactly the same. So what'd you guys think of these shell holes? They look okay? I mean, the color looks great. It's just a bit too, it's a bit too vertical. You know, if I gotta make more, I'll make them on a bigger footprint and then they'll have a little bit more slope to them. But like I said, I already have this material. The pool noodle, other than drying time, as you put goop on the pool noodle, and it's gonna take 24 hours to dry. But the instructions say 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. Maybe you put it on thin. I don't have this stuff on thin on purpose. I want it to have a regularish texture. And if you're ever wondering why it's so difficult in North Africa to figure out what regiment is part of which armored brigade and which armored division, go look at that timeline that's on that UK tank markings thing. There's like a timeline of when things were with each unit, and you look at it, and it makes your head spin. Like, man, no wonder. No wonder it's so damn confusing that the 7th Armored had Matildas in it at certain times. Okay, you too, man. Hopefully you have the day off. Or maybe this is what you do for a living. You know, that's one thing I can say about this. I could say, man, this looks like shit. Literally. It's like one of them cat poos. Talking about that comment that you had made about your daughter wanting a dog, Marcus. My daughter always wants a dog, but my wife and I are, we're not anti-dog people. We just don't want a dog. Um, Actually, I'll tell you what the worst thing about a dog is they have a smell, and that's by design. I understand that they have a musk, and yeah, I don't want to smell like that. I don't want my house to smell like that. But I do appreciate dogs that are well behaved, and I do appreciate dogs that know they're the dog, right? Because if you get one of them alpha dogs that wants to run the show, like, no, no, listen, you're the fucking dog, right? And it's not like I'm gonna treat you like crap, but it's like, you're not in charge. So as I've gotten older, I actually like dogs more than before than when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, dogs were always misbehaved. Always. They bark all the freaking time. And as a matter of fact, we went for a walk the last 2 nights with my daughter. She'd been wanting to do a walk around the neighborhood. And there's a couple of houses, maybe 300 meters on the opposite side of the road. If we lived over there, I wouldn't be able to stand their dogs because they're just going off all of the time. And they probably don't get walked. They're dogs that get thrown in the backyard. Then they're like, you're going to leave me here? This is my land. Get off my thing. What are you doing here? What are you, just constantly, just like, on like crack and angry. That's how I define, those. But dogs, when you see people walking them and stuff, they're usually pretty friendly. I don't want them jumping on me. I'm okay with them coming over and sniffing, and even licking is okay. But jumping on me, no. I had a friend of mine who had to stop going over to his house many years ago because he had a full size poodle, and it wasn't all dolled up like fruity, okay, but it was a huge curly ass haired dog, right? And it would jump on you, and you'd freaking scratch, you'd destroy your clothes because he had these nails on him. And like every time you moved or went to the bathroom or whatever, he'd get all riled up again. It was like psychotic. I'm like, I'm just not coming over anymore. It just isn't worth it, you know. But I'm not anti-dog. They don't fit my lifestyle. I don't need them. The house is dusty enough. With us coming in and not wearing any shoes in the house, and you're still like, where does this stuff come from? Like, we're not wearing shoes in the house, and we're clean people. Shit happens. Well, shit would really happen with a dog because it's just stuff everywhere. But when I was a kid, dogs were really misbehaved. And where's my paper towels? Didn't freaking women take my paper towels again? They did. God bless them. I'll be right back. Let me get this roll of paper towels that have printed on them. These are not for you, woman. Smell and shedding. To answer your question from Monday, I do have winter, U.S. and German forces for the bulge battles. Wow, that was a slow response time, man. Did you just sober up? I don't remember asking you that question. I assume the bulge is probably not really popular in the UK. The same way Market Garden probably is. I told you why I don't like Market Garden. It's got nothing to do with Monty. I'm not a Monty hater, okay? I don't think he was the best thing since sliced bread, but I certainly don't think he was the worst. And you know what? It worked having him. So, you know, he's better than Cunningham so far. Poor old Cunningham. But it's really confusing because when somebody says, "Oh, we're doing a I'm watching a program and the commander is Cunningham." I'm like, what's he doing on land? He's like he's an admiral, right? I think of the guy that's in Warspite, not a general. I guess there were some smart pigs in England. It was a popular thing. I want to be named after a smart pig too. All right, you can be a Cunningham as well. Of course, my favorite British admiral of the Second World War was Somerville, because he was foul mouthed, and there's just something to like about that. It's just something to like about somebody that just tells it like it is. And he was on the other end of the Mediterranean. Force H man. Yeah, I was like, General Cunningham. I'm like, that guy's an admiral. What the hell's he doing over there? Oh, that guy. Oh, okay. I've never really done bulge stuff, you know? Too many SS there. So I was going out for a walk with my daughter, and I'm like, we need to go to when we go to UK. I mean, if we go to the UK on our trip on our way to Spain, we need to go to one of these museums, and I'm going to whisper things in your ear, and then you're going to say these things to the curator. Like, I think that paint scheme is wrong. That's the wrong color for light stone. Shit like that. That they're going to be like, whoop, whoop. They're getting trounced by some little girl. Yeah, she's 19, but she's still a little girl. She looks younger than 19. I think so, anyways. But I think she'd be able to handle the Imperial War Museum. I mean, we've watched enough World War II stuff. She knows more World War II stuff than most people her age, regardless of whether or not they're girls. So, plus, I think that's all World War One and World War II stuff, isn't it? But to get back to the point about looking at things online and not purchasing them, I'm motivated by, like, if something's really cheap, I'll buy it ahead of schedule. Or what's the thing that you called it, Jeffrey? The fear of missing out, right? Like, they're not going to make these things anymore. Oh shit, we got to buy them. But other than that, I'm like, I don't need to buy a bunch of stuff and never. I mean, that's why I got the 25 pounder. I'm like, what? These aren't available? Whoop! Get it. Well, I only got one. I only need one. I don't need any of them, but one will do for the scale game I'm doing. But a lot of the Crusader stuff is just tank on tank, which I don't think will go that slow. There just needs to be a reason in the scenario. There's got to be like a reason for one side to move. Otherwise, you're just going to park there and just start shelling each other. And like, that's kind of boring. Some of the post market garden actions in the Netherlands might interest me. Yeah, I know. That's what Jeffrey was saying he was doing. I agree. And there's Canadians over there too. Sorry about that. Man, Canada's such a sorry country. What? I saw some Pacific type buildings there in that were really cheap. I mean, like a few bucks each. And they might be a piece of crap, but might be worth ordering on AliExpress. But I'm not going to order them now. Like, if they're not available later, they're not available later. As much as I want to do the Pacific. The big appeal of the Pacific is doing the terrain and then being able to, do all kinds of noisy sounds with the Japanese, and etc. Whoops. So hopefully we can paint some of this stuff at lunch. Oh, I'm not going to be able to. The girls are going to be here at lunch. They're gonna throw my mojo off. The wife doesn't have the day off, but she's working from home. I will not be working from home. I never get that pleasure. Well, one thing that doesn't interest me at all as a scenario, and this pretty much goes for anything, is a river crossing. And there's a few scenarios that involve river crossings. If it has a river crossing, I'm not interested. Because that means not only do I have to build a river, I got to build a wide river. At this point, I'm not interested in a river crossing. I'll put it that way. But the desert's going to be good because I'm not just going to throw that mat out there and like, okay, there we go. No, no. There's going to be bits of rocks and stuff like that out there. There's going to be stuff that's going to be interesting to look at, even if it doesn't have any effect on the game. Like aesthetically, it needs to be uneven. Marcus just pushed me into the moving the inevitable sooner. Like I was going to do the desert anyways. Like fuck it, let's do it now. Are there any campaigns that you're just like, I'm just not interested in that at all? Operation Torch, I'm not interested at all. Like Americans versus Vichy French. Pretty much anything that involves the Vichy French, I'm just not interested in. When we do France, it's going to be 1940, not, any other period. Almost out of this? Yeah. It's time to get a Coke. And people always want to like gripe with the French about being surrender monkeys or whatever. And really, they got bent in 1940 by their own high command. I have a feeling the Vichy aren't that way. The Vichy would be the surrender monkeys because they just don't believe what they're fighting for. At least like in 1940, they believe in some stuff. I'm okay with being that kind of bad influence. Well, you know what I've said is, as long as I'm working on something, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what I'm working on as long as I'm working on something. And we are working on something. Like for instance, let's say tomorrow I decide to go to the Pacific. That's not happening. But if that's what happened is, as long as I'm continuing to work on stuff, like I worked on desert stuff and then I moved to something else. Because for me the motivation isn't the game. It isn't to play the game. It's to build the stuff and to learn about the history. So it doesn't really matter that I stop this and go to something else. Because as long as I'm building things, painting stuff, learning the history, that's what's important to me. It's not like, oh man, you're never going to get around to playing that game. That's not important to me. That's not the end. That's not what brings me happiness. So, I know one guy has a great YouTube channel and he's jumping all over the place between periods, scales. He doesn't stick to just one scale. Well, we're sticking to one scale. I'm telling you, I'm not going to start paying 15s or 28s or. Yeah, I'm not going to do 20s and ancients. Sorry. Sadly, for my wallet, I'm interested in almost everything in the broader World War II time frame, including actions pre-39. Well, that's just extreme. You know what I thought about the other day when the Polish guy was on, and might be some options, is 1939 Poles versus Soviets, because I already have Soviets, and everybody can cheer the Poles on. But he said they didn't fight much. So, I'm not opposed to doing 1939 Poles. They got a lot of cool stuff. They got cool camo on their tanks. Their vehicles are interesting looking. Their uniforms aren't bad looking. You know? And they weren't a pushover. And I love that Purina dog chow symbol on their planes. I like Polish stuff. Everybody likes Polish stuff here in the United States. Need to buy a few vowels for their language, you know. It's a whole lot of weird consonants, but you know. Korean dog chow. Not knocking them. It's actually a cool symbol. I like it. But there's still some stuff to figure out with Operation Crusader. For instance, the Honeys, I've seen pictures of them with the arm of service marking being a B4. But yet, if you look at that chart, they should say 40 on them. That one particular, the 8th Hussars, 8th Irish, I can't remember what the hell they're called. 8th King's Irish Hussar, you know, whatever, Guard, those guys. I've seen some of the arms of service is a red B4. They should have 40 according to that chart. I don't want to like not put an arm of service marking on the tanks because it's an opportunity to add something colorful, you know, and make it like not boring looking. Question: Overloon and the Moss salient is of interest as I am reading about it on Forgotten Battle by Dutch authors, also inspired by On the Flanks of Arnhem scenario book by Anschluss. Never thought of it like that. What, the Purina dog chow symbol? Well, it's abbreviated. The Purina dog chow is just 4. And the Polish symbol's 4, and 2 red, 2 white at opposite corners, and the Purina dog chow is like the 5 pip. You play Rapid Fire, don't you, Jeffrey? You know, there's a case to be made for building your forces for like a rapid fire game. Okay, because it's not a 1-to-1 scale game, but the proportions are still there. Like if you look at a scenario and it's like, yeah, but that's representing 5 tanks. Yes, but the proportion, just like DBA, the proportion is what's important. You know, like you've got 3 troops of Crusaders to one that has a headquarters unit with 1 unit that has a close support howitzer tank. You know, so if you're like, okay, well, I want to build a close support howitzer tank for whatever forces, A10s, a Crusader, whatever. How many should I get? I said, well, you should have 1 in 10 of those. So if you have 10 regular Crusaders, you've earned to get 1 close support tank. I mean, yes, you could have a freak show where you're like, okay, these 4 or 3 or 4 close support tanks are all together, but you'll have your proportion will be off. Like if you want to look at the big picture, that's the big picture you need to look at. I do the same thing with command decision. That's why I never got rid of that stuff, because the proportions are there. It's an easy place to look things up. It's funny, in Operation Crusader, these are going to be more useful for the Axis. Well, it depends what part I do. But certainly defending the airfield. The Africa Division. Yeah, that's the pre soon to be 90th Light. Francois, man, welcome. Up early, I see. I got another 15, 20 so more minutes in me. And then I got to go to the salt mines, unfortunately. But then there'll be a Thanksgiving episode tomorrow. I never care for Thanksgiving food. And this year, we're not going to have traditional Thanksgiving food. So, looking forward to that. Not a fan of that puritanical food. One of your great uncles lost his life fighting around Overloon. 48th Armored Infantry Battalion, 7th Armored Division. They make lots of Dutch buildings. Lots of people make Dutch style buildings. And they look good too. Okay. Now we can't mess with this until this dries. So here we are, full stop. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this same color, but with a much smaller brush, and paint the basing on, what did we say this guy's name was? McGregor. He's McGregor. All right. Where is this little thing? Let's get in the hard to reach places first. Yeah, drying time, man. You got to change gears because it's like time for something to dry. And other than putting the paintbrush down completely, if you want to keep going, you need to switch gears with it. You ever thought about converting any of those figures to do some Chinese figures, like the War in China guy does? I don't know. I haven't really seen what kind of a close-up conversion he's done on his stuff, but I was catching one episode of like who he uses for different forces, because only Caesar makes Chinese forces, and I think they're nationalist. I think they're nationalist Chinese. So if you want to have Japanese, nationalist Chinese, and communist Chinese, you gotta get some other manufacturers in there. Obviously, it makes the Japanese are super easy. Lots of people make Japanese, like a lot. Then you can use those crummy Japanese tanks that they had over in China. Can't remember what it's called, but the ones that have the front that's like very vertical front. I like the way they look. They might be a piece of crap, but you know what? It's better than no tank. I'd like to do some gaming in that time period, but it's going to be down the list. My dad was posted to the RASC at Phillips Works in Eindhoven in September 44. You have an older dad as well. As an 18-year-old. You still have an older dad. He was a number 2 driver, was involved in the resupplying of the forces in the area. Number 2 driver means he's the assistant driver. What's the number 2 driver do? He takes turns. He's like a team driver. He's not the one that complains about, I don't like the way you took that turn back there. Hey, I think you're lost. Hey, you're going the wrong way, you know. Shoot, hold on a second. I gotta do some math here. I can't do math in my head. Oh, I like what you sent me, Jeffrey. Yeah, that would just, I just decided to pick one unit that I didn't know anything about, and it's this website called the Crusader Project. It just has all kinds of stuff there to. Where's my calculator here? I'm sorry I'm being ignorant, but I'm just not ready to do any math in my head. So if we do 1944 minus 18, your dad is 1 year younger than my dad was. Interesting. You have an older dad. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's why I act like I'm like born in 1961 instead of 1971. Their fixed British World War I infantry are useful for lots of interwar conflicts. As long as you use tin helmets, huh? Tin hats. Of course, this guy's helmet looks more like a bowler. He's got like it's just kind of small. Maybe he's got a big head. Look at the size of his head. It's huge. Well, his name is McGregor. Oh, McGregor's got a huge head. I would have said that a lot louder if the girls weren't here sleeping. Just for the record. I can't be so over the top while they're sleeping. I just can't believe how well these plastic figures turn. If somebody says, yeah, you're going to be painting plastic figures, I'm like, bullshit. Those things ain't worth painting. Yes, they are. I just hope they're durable. Because not only have I liked every one of them, I've loved every one of them. It's just been an incredible experience. I suspect it'll be the same way with the eye ties and the Africa Corps. The macaronis, according to that one thing, they call them the macaronis. The macaronis and the crooked coconuts. It's the sand Nazis. No, I prefer the crooked coconuts. You gotta watch my show to know what the hell I'm talking about. What are you talking about? I said, I see you don't subscribe. Okay, there's no excuse for leaving the brush dangling here when we have one of these things. Like, you need to hang it up there. There you go. Time for me to start the breakfast routine. Have a great day. Oh, see, I got confused, Jeffrey. See, there it is with you and Marcus. I thought Marcus had said that. I'm sorry. But yeah, you're older than I am. And you're 10 years older than me, and I should have been born 1961. Supposedly I wasn't an accident. Whatever. I didn't ask to be born. Um, he was a reserve driver and normally manned the Bren. Had to stand on his seat and fire the gun from the hatch in the roof. Only fired twice in anger. So he probably fired the Bren that has the chrome barrel. Never talked about it when he was alive till about a couple of months before he died. He did a lot of repatriation of refugees. Only found out after he died he visited one of the families. Yeah. Well, that's we have the benefit of not having to go through all that PTSD that those guys did. You know, and I'm not a pro-war person, but this stuff is fascinating. It's like beyond fascinating. What's the next level of fascination? I don't know. I can't get enough. I can't get enough of this stuff. So, but I wouldn't want to do the real thing. Because some of the stuff some of the stuff you read about, not only are they getting massacred, but you're getting massacred in like a bloody fucking way. Like they're not gonna find any. Not only are you gonna die, they're not gonna find you in one piece, or they won't recognize you, or like nobody knows what happened to you. Like, man, that's got to be horrible. I mean, ultimately, I guess it doesn't really make a difference because you're friggin' dead. But that's just horrible. The idea that nobody will know what happened to you. Because you could have been doing something really epic, and nobody will know. That's the stuff we forget about. This is just toy soldiers, thankfully. Wars should be resolved with toy soldiers. But green ochre. There's a guy who gives a discussion at the model meeting who does a superb job of giving a discussion. And he ended his discussion with, because it was about military vehicles, that he didn't condone war or any stuff. Like, he went like way over the top. Like, why did you feel the need to have to do that? I mean, I'm like, I don't know. People that watch serial killer stuff, they don't put that they don't condone, people being, mass murderers. It's just assumed. Hey, just like I always say, I'm a devout pacifist. But if you break into my house, I don't care who you are, to harm my family, you're going to get lit up. If I can, if I'm not incapacitated, I'm going to light your ass up and not feel bad about it. You came to my house, you broke through my door. This is America. Open wide. Open wide, motherfucker. But I'm a pacifist. I don't go and, cause trouble or. There's a time even the pacifists have to step up. That's why my daughter can't understand that dude in Saving Private Ryan. Man, that guy is just. She'll never forgive him. She'll never forgive that guy. This is a time to step up, think this is gonna look sexy. It's like the whole Battle of Britain. When you get the shit bombed out of you, are you going to cave into the Nazis or say, you know what, all these people aren't going to die in vain? Screw this, we're not giving up. That's your two options that you have. And that's what I was reading this Operation Crusaders. I have to remember that up to this point, the Germans had been almost undefeated. They've had some setbacks. The RAF stood up to them, and they didn't take it, and they didn't take England. Norway didn't go exactly according to plan. Bismarck went down. That's it. That's the only. They got pulled in Africa because Italy bit off more than they could chew. And not only did Italy have false teeth, it didn't have much of a bite, but pretty much everything had been going the Germans' way. And I've read, and I'm not really interested in really strategic visions of the Second World War. That narrative doesn't really interest me. It doesn't have the kind of tactical detail that I'm looking for. And that shouldn't surprise anybody. But I'm always surprised that people say that one of the worst, the thing that really did Germany in was that they declared war on the United States. I mean, if Germany would not have declared war on the United States, what difference would it have made? I mean, do we honestly think that if the Germans didn't declare war on the United States after Pearl Harbor, that the U.S. would have just said, we're just going to fight Japan and then we're just going to wait to see what happens? I just don't think that's what would happen. And they were already basically active, other than putting, boots on the ground with rifles. And they were already occupying some of the British bases and stuff too, to help out. So I don't see where declaring war on the United States would have made that many difference. Not much of a, whether they did or didn't, it really wouldn't matter. It might have mattered, a couple months or something like that. But as a non-combatant, Upham represents the audience in Saving Private Ryan. Well, my daughter would have shot him. Would have shot the German. There's nothing wrong with being a coward and being scared of dying. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I get it. I mean, I'm sure that's a part of everybody. But when your back is up against the wall and it's you or them and they're going to kill you anyways, I mean, it didn't end up killing him. But, the mentality is normally it's like they're going to kill you anyways. It's just like, if there was a hostage situation on a plane, I hope there's not anymore, but if there was a hostage situation on a plane and these guys want to take over the plane with box cutters, are you going to lay low? Are you going to be like, this isn't going to happen on my flight? That's your two options that you have, And I just don't see the laying low as an option. Just as I don't see the option of like, look, these guys, everybody in your squad is either dying or getting killed. Like, you have a fully, well, assuming his rifle was working, you have a fully functioning Garand in your hands. I don't remember if he had a carbine or Garand. I think it was a Garand. Like, freaking shoot the dude. Like, you can't miss at this range. I understand you being a coward. I mean, it's human nature to be scared and, but dude, stand the fuck up, Up and doesn't represent me. Doesn't represent me either. And I'm not saying I'd be a badass, okay? I'm scared of fucking dying, I'm telling you. But there's a time where, you know, you just get enraged. And that would be the time to get enraged. You know? I gotta believe there's a time where everybody's gonna get, like, no, absolutely not. I mean, the guy went through boot camp, right? Like, I would have shot him, and I didn't go through boot camp, and they put all kinds of stuff in your head in boot camp, like where you hate your enemy and stuff like that, and like that's got to come out, man. It just seemed really unbelievable. There's just some things in war, and I've never been in war, and I don't want to be in war, but I'm just telling you, there's some things in war that just seem really unbelievable. And it's okay to show unbelievable things in a movie, but when it's the first movie you come across and you see something extremely, extremely unlikely, it makes it look like, what kind of a narrative are you trying to push? And there's things that are just really, that just don't make any sense to me. Like, if you've watched the new All Quiet on the Western Front, okay? The new one, which has incredible special effects and is probably the goriest war movie I've seen. And war movies should be gory because it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible experience. But anyhow, this guy goes from being a wimp and being scared of dying, which makes total sense, okay? But then he goes into this bloodlust again when his buddies are dying, which makes total sense. But then he cools down from it way too fast. Like, next thing you know, he's helping this Frenchman that he just killed 3 seconds ago. Like, dude, give him at least 10 minutes to calm down. That seems really unbelievable. Now, did somebody ever react that way? Probably, but I wouldn't have done it that way. Righteous indignation is legit. Oh, you're going to make me look things up. Declaring war on the U.S. gave Roosevelt justification for the Germany first strategy. Thought the U.S. would have just concentrated on Japan. Well, that's true, but he wasn't the one that made the decision. I mean, why did Hitler even do it? I know he's a crazy person, but, he's the audience size in your story example of how there's no room for empathy in war. Combat zones are not so bad. If you intend on going to Valhalla, it's totally fun. Somebody's been through boot camp. I came really close to going. Really close. Like, I was on my way out and they're like, no, we don't want you with that skin thing you have. Probably did me a favor. And that's not to poo-poo anybody that's been in the service. I have extreme respect for people that have been in the service. Maybe not extreme respect. That sounds bad, but I respect people that have been in the service. I don't kneel for the freaking... Anyhow, I'm old school. We've got a flag flying out there right now. It doesn't touch the ground or none of that stuff. But... I'm pressed for time. I want to put the sand on here. Yes, your comment. Well, thank you. Even though they probably shouldn't have sent you there. But that's not your fault. And you don't know. Hindsight's always 20/20. Yeah, I know a guy. We got a family friend who was earned the Silver Star in Vietnam, and I'm like, man, that's incredible, but he shouldn't have been there. I mean, in retrospect, it was a waste. Unfortunately. I take it you don't war game the conflict you were in. I mean, that would make sense. Somebody posted something about the Ukraine conflict. And this person had a cow about, I can't believe you're wargaming that soon after the... Like... I don't see what the problem is. I could totally see why somebody that was in a war or a particular war zone wouldn't want to relive whatever it was that they were involved in. Ah, I screwed up. I should have painted the wheels first. So then some of this stuff would get off. Well, that's okay. We'll paint the wheels afterwards and then we can brush some of this stuff back on it. Now, this is what it's going to be. It's going to be that sitting inside there. You know what still surprises me about the military? And this may not surprise you, but as an outsider, this is one thing that surprises me about the military. You play Warhammer, I don't play pretend war, not in video games or in the tabletop, not on an airsoft field. Nothing compares to the real thing. Sure, and it's probably a good thing nothing compares to the real thing, but one thing that surprises me about the military is that, and this is just what I've heard, is that you get issued a weapon, right? And when you go back to base, it goes to somebody else to clean. Like, what? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe as somebody who's never had somebody else clean their weapons, it would be like, that's kind of a cool part to do, to be honest with you. If you got to clear a jam or something like that, and you're always the one that's working on that thing all the time, like you become really good at it. I just don't understand the armorer thing. I mean, sure, if there's something that went sideways, but I'm not turning my freaking gun back into you. It's my gun. This is my rifle. This is my pistol. I don't know. If my life depends on it, man, I want to be the one in charge of it. Isn't that what happens? You guys have to turn your stuff into like an armor or something like that. Maybe not like if you're in the combat zone, but I mean like it should be like your responsibility. You check it out, and that's your serial number, and that's your M9, and that's your M4A1 or whatever. That's the cool part. Somebody else could do the push-ups. Oh man, this thing is looking good. This thing's gonna bake some Jerry's. Beautiful, beautiful. If you're a POS accountant, someone cleans your rifle. After your biannual trip to qualify at the range, infantrymen don't turn rifles in, and we're expected to maintain our own weapons. Well, I don't know who told me that. This is just hearsay. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me either. Like, that'd be like having a vehicle crew that can't work on their own vehicle. Like weird. Like, dude, you need to work on it. I mean, maybe not be the most, you need to have a basic understanding of it. Piece of shit accountant in the military. All right. Now, we got to go to the salt mines. Got to get ready to go to the salt mines. And I'm not going to say it should be an easy day today, because every time I think that, you get bent. So It's going to be a bitch today. A pog told you that. Maybe. Well, it's the thing about the military is or anything, or anybody that works for the government, or really maybe in anything, period. You only know your little slice of the pie. So if that's all you see, that's all you see. Okay, so the 2 pounder is going to sit. Do we have one of these so I can kind of get this? This isn't completely painted though. This thing is going to sit like this. Obviously, it's going to be popped in place after. We're going to have little grasses and stuff like that. This thing's going to look epic. Just like so. And we haven't painted the 2 pounder at all. Well, we painted and gave it a wash. But we haven't done any of the highlighting or anything on here. And one of the crew members is going to sit inside of it all the time, but we can pull him out when he gets shot. Sorry, dude, you're getting off the field. And then the other guy that's the loader will just have to be. We're just going to have a stand on the stand, but I think I can live with that. I like the fact it's like rifle fire takes this guy out. Okay, he's eliminated. So. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. There you go. Plan for the reasonable worst. There's some worse. Thanks for coming by this morning, and we'll see you guys, if not later today in the evening, then definitely for Thanksgiving. All right, folks.